everybody. It's still January 2017. And I would like to welcome especially everyone who is here for the first time or back after a long time. We have two members of our newcomer team, and they have a packet for you. So before I tell you how to get one, I want to say that in the packet is one of these blue cards that gives us some information about you and your email so that you can receive updates. We don't pester you, but how many of you enjoy my weekly updates? See, it's lovely. So get in our system with this card, and then you get a free one of these, a free book. You just take it over to the bookstore, this card, get this free. No, what do they do, Ceci? They give it, give it to one of these lovely goddesses here, and then you will get a free book. I will get this right very soon. So now, if you are here for the first time and would like to get a packet that tells all about us, just put your hand in the air and we will bring it to you. They will. There's one back there. Anybody else? Oh, bunches. Yep. No, you can't point to people. They have to ask for it. Here's one right here too up front. Yay. Okay. And I hope that all of you newbies find this to be home. Like you just say, oh my gosh, I found it. I'm at home. And then let me hug you, a real big hug after the service if you like hugs. So welcome again to the theme for 2017. And this is what it is. Living our values-based spiritual living. That is what our theme is for this whole year. And at this time, I'd like to draw your attention to the altar, which is a Marsha altar. And I told Marsha her altars are like a retreat. It's like you stand in front of this and you just have that experience of well, it's like the Didge, you just are transported. So thank you so much, Marsha. Thank you. So we're talking about values all this year. Values are quite a bit like divine qualities or divine attributes. And what we find is that they're really nice to think about, but unless you really work with them and live with them and live through them, they don't really do you any good. So we have a number of ways that you can do that. One of them is to pick up one of these cards. This has a little cloud on it with the 12 values that we're going to look at this year. And they're different sizes depending on what you want to emphasize in your life. And they're all at the back table, at the events table. So you can pick one of these up and put it on your refrigerator or on your mirror or something like that and remind yourself that you are living through these spiritual qualities. Because, we actually already live our values. We can say that we like generosity. But if we live from selfishness, we can't claim anything else, really. We can say we like generosity, but the way we live is through our values. So I'm just checking, is anybody uncomfortable with the scented candle? Okay, can you just turn out the scented ones, baby? Yeah, that, because I don't, it's just, they're sensitive to some people. And then we just take the lit candles and unlit candles into our heart. So, good. You got that piece? We live our values already. And so our job is to consciously identify the values that we want to live and then move into them. And that usually takes some effort. If there's a change in the values that we see. And, Scott Peck was an amazing author, and he said, really, the only sin, we don't talk about sin very much, but since he said, and he doesn't either very much, but he did say there was one, and the one sin he identified is laziness. That if we just kind of sit there and don't change, we are not living full out the reason that we took birth, because we're not meant to just stay the same for our whole life. We are meant to evolve and live and grow. So we also have a monthly theme, and the monthly theme in January is spiritual living, knowing that out of this spiritual awareness, all of the details and circumstances of our life emerge, and that the source of everything is really that unseen realm, the spiritual realm, where our intentions are, and our habits are, and our beliefs are. That's what is the source of our life. And so if we shift our values and then say, I'm going to follow this affirmation of my value with action, that's how we shift and change. So every week we have some values to hold. So the values to hold today, first of all, is receptivity. That is why we sang, I am opening, I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. That's why we sang that, to remind us that receptivity is a value that we're practicing today. Another one is humility. Just saying, you know, I of myself really don't know all that much. I know some things, but I know that there's that next lesson that I am available to. So receptivity and humility go together. And then the last one that I want to talk about today is generosity. And they all kind of go together in a really nice way. They're all about openness. So because we're going to do this all year, and this is, we're going to do this one more Sunday to get you used to it, but on your bulletin, there's a whole big list of values here. Lots and lots of values, and you can go online as well. You can just say values, Google values, and there are many, many lists. There's a list of hundreds of values. And so you can use my values that I talk about on Sunday, or you can look at these and say, oh, that one, that's the one I need to work on. Then what you do is every week is going to have this little box of living my values. I want you to write it down, cut it out, or else put the whole bulletin on your refrigerator. Just have your whole house be sort of a reminder of the Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. And then you consciously live through that value and then report about it, because, you know, we learn from stories. You get stories of my life every week, but I think you might like stories of somebody else's life. So if you would live it and report on it, that would be great. The other thing that we do in January is that we review the basic principles of science of mind. And that comes from the big book here called The Science of Mind. And the first 4 chapters kind of say over and over and over and over and over and over again what our philosophy is, which is also out on the sign. Very simply, change your thinking. Change your life. There you go. So the first 4 chapters are the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. So today is what it does. That's the chapter, the 3rd chapter in the book that we are talking about, and it's very simple. What it of course, is God, the creative process, universal mind, whatever you want to call that, allness, that oneness, that isness, that is everywhere present, all-knowing and all-powerful, that indwells us. Okay, it imparts. That's it. It imparts, and then our response is we partake. It imparts, we partake. Could not be easier, right? So we try to do it ourselves, and all we have to do is say, yes, I accept. So on page 40 of the textbook, it says this: the Spirit can give us only what we can take. It imparts of itself only as we partake of its nature. It can tell us only what we can understand. So to the degree that we are open and responsive and receptive to that indwelling and the overarching spirit of life, to that extent, we will be blessed by it. We will be guided, we will be gifted, it'll impart more and more and more as we lean into it, as we live into it. So we're going to deepen our understanding today so we can partake more, yes? Yes. Okay, fine. Okay, so here we go. Spirit imparts. Is that the sweetest thing? That little sparkly present. That's the divine gift. Often it looks like a gift. Sometimes it looks like a challenge. And sometimes it looks like an all-out problem. So I want to just suggest to you that no matter who you voted for in the election that just passed, the inauguration is a gift. Can you get your mind around? I can see some of the faces that just went. So, but it is a gift. And if we wrap our mind around it, we will find our blessing. I was talking to Lloyd Tupper on the way down here today. Lloyd is the founding minister of our community. And he said, I know there's a pony in that village. You know, he never gets the sayings quite right, but somewhere he said, there's a pony in the village. And so we know, of course, what that means, that if there's a pile of pony droppings, there's somewhere there's a pony. There you go. So here's what to remember about Spirit imparting. First of all, it gives everything. It gives everything. It gives war and peace. It gives pain and pleasure. It gives everything because somehow our souls want to experience it all on this earth plane. We do, or it wouldn't be here. I imagine the Spirit gives us bunches of things that we've never thought of on this earthly plane, and so they're not here until somebody thinks them up. And then they're here, they arrive. So Spirit gives us everything in general and in specific to you individually. So I've told this story before, but I love it. It's the story of the banquet and the comfortable and the uncomfortable guest. So the banquet was lavish, and many invitations went out. So there was a comfortable guest who got the invitation and goes, oh boy, this is going to be one great party. And there was an uncomfortable guest who got the same invitation that said, maybe I can get something that will alleviate some pain in my wretched life. I'm going to the party. So they both arrive at the party. So the uncomfortable guest has an overcoat on, and they come in and they look at the table and they race to the table and they put those little cakes and everything in their pocket, plus some silverware, you know, just like in Les Mis. You know, they're trying to steal the silverware, and then they rush out. Not enjoying the party, not going to get much good out of what they took, because, you know, those little cakes will just get all crummy in their pocket. But anyway, the comfortable guest walks in, catches the eye of the host. The host comes right over to him, puts his arm around him and says, I'm so glad you came to this party. Would you look at what the cooks did? Oh my gosh, this table never ends. It just goes on and on and on down the corridor. And come with me. And they took him to the kitchen. I know your very favorite is pumpkin pie. Here's a pumpkin pie just for you. Don't leave the party without it. Now go and have a wonderful time. That's where we're living. We're living at the party. And if you haven't gotten your pumpkin pie yet, your favorite thing, it's because you're not used to accepting the good that is imparted. The next thing about Spirit is that it never ever withholds. Sometimes we want something so badly and it doesn't come. And it feels like God is withholding. But God never withholds. And so if we really believe that it's done unto us as we believe, then it must be us that is keeping our good away from us. So one of the techniques, I'll just say, is when you feel that lack, limitation, that pain of wanting something so bad and having it not be there for you, to just kind of bypass that experience and go into an acceptance and say, oh, this is just as I have chosen it. And then see what pops up for you. Because it's true. You have chosen the experience of your life just the way it is. So I brought a couple of things today from my day yesterday. I marched for inclusivity and tolerance in Santa Rosa. And my son made a couple of signs. Now, before I show you the signs, I want you to know that these were favorite signs of the march. These pictures were taken of these signs so many times. One of them is spiritually responsible and positive, and one isn't. They both were loved. But it'll be very instructive for us. I'm kind of embarrassed about showing you one, and it's not because of the profanity, it's because of you'll see. So, here's the good one. Make empathy great again. So many people took pictures of this, and my son held it, Mary held it, I held it. This was another one that Michael made. Everybody loved this one too. I can't believe we still have to protest this shit. So what happened was that people who protested the Vietnam War laughed at this one, took a picture of this one, said, oh my God, isn't that great? And so in consciousness, however, I can't believe we still have to protest. We have to protest because we protest. We say, get this away from me, get this away from me, get this away from me. And Spirit doesn't know not. Spirit doesn't know negative. All Spirit hears is, oh, they want that Vietnam thing again. They want that thing that they do that protesting thing with again. So this, as humorous as it is, perpetuates stuff to protest. This one, I think is pretty good. It's like, I want my world filled with empathy, and I'm going to look for that. Everybody can like this, right? Everybody does. Okay, got it? Got the two things? Okay, good. So, next, Spirit imparts, and that is impersonal until we personalize it. So what happens is, Spirit gives us life, and for the most part, we receive along a law of averages until we do something else. If we keep saying, oh, what calamity next, what calamity next, what calamity next, our life will evolve into less than average. If we say, I'm looking for inclusivity and empathy and tolerance and love and connection, and I'm going to find it, then our life evolves into that. So I saw a movie this week. No, it wasn't a movie. It was a TV show. And many people have recommended This Is Us to me. So we didn't go into the archives. We just watched the one that was up. I think that's what we watched. Anyway, it was about a woman who was pregnant with triplets. That was part of the thrust of the story. And another thrust of the story is that she was a white woman. There was a little black baby, newborn baby, that was left at the fire station. So we have these two tracks of stories here. So the little black baby at the fire station ended up in the same neonatal ward that two of the triplets made it into. They lost the third baby. So this couple was grief-stricken about losing one of their three babies. But there was this extra baby in the neonatal ward, and they adopted this little black baby. And then they showed the family about 7 or 8 years later watching family movies with everybody integrated like three little peas in a pod, and that was the family. And that was the most inclusive message. And I focus on that. I focus on that. And that is what I'm going to see more and more and more of. So in the textbook it says, the intelligence by and I use both hands for the signs already. So, the intelligence by and through which we perceive that there is a spiritual presence and an infinite mind in the universe constitutes our receptivity to it and decides its flow through us. So what we bring to the creative process and to that infinite mind decides what moves through our life. So although Spirit imparts, here we go, we partake. So there's the little sparkly present. We partake by being, first of all, connected. What this means is that we need to do our spiritual practice and connect up with that which is already connected to us, but we need to be aware of it in order to accept the goodies of the universe. In the textbook it says, what we draw from it must draw through the channel of our own minds. A unity must be established and a conscious connection must be made before we can derive the benefits which the greater mind is willing to reveal or impart to us. So first of all is spiritual practice. The next part is receptivity. So first you do spiritual practice and know that you are intimately known and you intimately know the source of your life. And then you open to be receptive to it. So when we specifically put our minds to accepting, it can feel like we are being proactive by telling the law what we want. But really, that's not what is happening. Although in our prayers we say what it is that we accept, unless we open to really accept it, we're just, talking without any results. Because what really happens is, since it's all already given, we change by becoming the person that lives the life that we dream of. Prayer changes us because God can't give anymore. God is not reluctant. God isn't. Henry David Thoreau wrote this, if one advances confidently in the direction of their dream, endeavoring to live the life they are imagining, one passes an invisible boundary. All sorts of things begin to occur that never otherwise would have occurred. One begins to meet with a success unexpected in common hours. So what this means is, as we do our spiritual practice, as we connect again, and as we envision our life the way we would love it to be, we change. If we're not changing, we won't get the goodies. That's it. If we are not teachable, we will not get the goodies. So the structure of this world is really a curriculum for us. If we want to experience more, we grow ourselves into the person who lives the life we imagine. If we're not teachable and humble, we won't get it. We won't change it. So I have an example of a person who received something early on in their spiritual life that never came again because they were a different person. So this person was very despondent and very sad and very separate and didn't believe in God and needed $100 for the rent. So that tells you how long ago it was. It was, desperate, hopeless. And they found $100 on the street. And they were able to pay their rent. And that instantly changed them into connected to their source. Now, as it sometimes happens, we have a theme in our lives, and the theme of this person's life often was and is financial support. Did they ever find $100 again on the ground? No. Because the curriculum of their life was taking them to a different place. They were already a person that believed in God. They were already a person that knew they were connected. And so the lessons seem to be going in a different direction. If we have problems with our receptivity, it's quite a bit like electricity. When our electric lights work partially or not at all, we know that the lack of power is not in the universal and infinite eternal flow of energy, but in the wiring that connects us with that flow. You know, I mean, I've got a charging cord right now on my phone that only works a little bit sometimes. And do I know that there's power in the wall that I stick it into over and over and over again? Yes, I know that. The problem is in the wiring. So if we aren't receiving, if we're not teachable, if we're not open, if we're not receptive, if we're not humble, then it's just like the wiring in us doesn't permit the divine flow of the goods. Then, the last thing that's really important for us to remember is that once we've got the goodies, we give them back. We are divine distributors of the heavenly good. We receive and then we give again. We just process the experience, because we can't hold on to love. It happens moment by moment by moment. We can't really hold on to abundance. That experience of abundance happens in the moment, and a lot of times the experience of abundance happens when we give again. I've got this, I can give it to you. I've got extra, here's some. And that's the experience of abundance. We have enough to share. And so giving back again, whether it's love or peace or joy, from our source, through us, we can't hang on to it. The more you give, the happier you are. So moment by moment we receive, and our experience is magnified as we give the divine goods again. It's just like one time when we had Lynn Twist, who is a financial abundance teacher. She was speaking for us, and we were backstage, and she was talking to me, and this was a number of years ago, and before everybody and his brother was a life coach. And she said, somebody told me that I could be a really good life coach and I could make $10,000 on a client. And she just kind of looked out in space and shook her head, and she said, I bet I could. And imagine how much I could give from that. That was exactly where she went. Exactly. So, reviewing today, it's almost time to end the talk. These are our values: receptivity, humility, and generosity. These are the values that I suggest you work on, but you can use any. These all go together because guess what? They are so far from controlling. They are about allowing. And I think, bringing it full circle, what our country and what the world needs is receptivity, humility, and generosity to all. And if you like this, try it out. The way we hold the world, if we're disturbed, is to get out of disturbance and to, in our meditation, say, what wants to happen now? And what is my part? That's all of those together. Receptivity, humility, and generosity. opening to the divine idea, saying yes to it, and then giving it forth. So I ask you again, I haven't had any stories of living values yet. I know it takes a while, but I want you to choose one, write it down, pin it up, live it, and then report it, okay? Wonderful. So in our closing prayer, see that sweet thing? Sweet surrounding? That's for the practitioners to surround the community. And for each of you to feel loved and held, supported, guided and directed. This is kind of like a focusing circle of pulling in all of the love and joy and help and guidance that all of us need. So accompany me in prayer if you would. So as the practitioners surround each of us, all of us, one and all, may we feel surrounded by the divine energy that gives everything. And imagine now that anything and everything is ready to be accepted into your life. And in trying out the lesson for today, setting aside any feelings of desperation or I've tried this before or I hope it works, let that feeling of the heavenly arms moving around you and the sweet whisper in your heart of hearts that says, "You are my beloved, and in you I am well pleased." Turning to that beautiful embrace, you simply ask, what is it that wants to happen through me? What good for my family, for my country, for my community? Let it be revealed, and I'll hold it. I can say yes instantly, or I can hold off a little and contemplate. Is this mine to do? And when it is, that yes from you is matched by the yes from the universe, and change happens first inside and then immediately around you, and then the world seems to change because you have changed. This is the nature of partaking, accepting in what Spirit gives. This is very good indeed. And so I close this prayer, knowing it is accepted in each heart as it is needed. Blessed be.
Bye.